Jackie Austin.
Jackie Austin.
No Bill.
No, and he was a little offended.
Why?
You're taking my husband's place.
I could never fill those shoes long.
I know. I understand, but he's feeling a little threatened. And as he should be, because you're a cop.
Yeah, I won't harm him though. I'd rather have a handshake from Bill.
He doesn't handshake.
He doesn't what?
He's a fist bumper because he doesn't want to get sick.
I guess that's smart.
Yeah. And I think-
Introduce your guest.
Oh,
please.
this is Shane. Well, I was wondering if people could tell by his voice.
Well, some can, but probably
Okay.
not all of them.
Shane Laporte, officer.
Not all of the millions of listeners.
Officer Shane. Do you have a title? Lieutenant, sergeant, chief?
No, I'm an officer, 25 years.
Right.
Wow.
What's it take to move up the ranks? Education? Can't be
No.
years because
No,
you've
I
been
I took the sergeant's exam 3 times and passed it.
Oh, okay. So it's a test.
Yeah, I
Part of
passed
the
it every
time.
time. But seniority doesn't carry over. So there becomes a point in your career where,
Oh, okay.
you know, right now I can lock day shift.
Got
I did
it.
13 years on midnight shift. So you get to a point in your career, if you do promote, then
Okay.
you go back to the bottom, and then you're stuck on midnight shift again. It's a very odd system, not conducive though for family.
Right, which
Mhm.
you are now
Yes.
in what do they say that?
Wedded
with
bliss.
child. He's with
Yeah,
child.
Doria's pregnant.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He's married.
Congratulations.
Year,
um,
1 year. you
It's
said?
coming up on a year, August 31st. I
That
remember,
will change your.
and my wife is lovely.
Oh, she's a doll.
I'm married
absolute
up.
doll.
I'm married up for sure.
Yeah,
That will change your view of the world, Shane.
having children.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's been in my master plan my whole life to
Yeah.
wait till I was older to have
Okay.
a child where I'd be more mature.
Yeah, how's that working out for you? Are you more mature? You are older. Are you more mature?
I
would-
think so.
He is.
I think so.
Is he?
I can
Okay.
attest to it.
Oh, nice.
I've known Shane for 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah. You knew me when I was probably less mature. And
Yeah.
How are you as a husband? Because being single that long and then marrying, that's a big adjustment, I'm assuming.
I'll be honest, it was an adjustment at first, but she told me exactly what I'm supposed to do, and I followed in my dad's footsteps. And my parents have been married for 47 years, and
There
my
you
dad
go.
has done exactly what he's supposed to do for that amount of time. And well, I'm just going to carry that tradition and do what my wife tells me to do.
Oh, okay. Nice. Well, she's a
That
doll.
makes it a lot easier for you.
She has a list for me.
Could
and
you
Yeah.
pass that on to my husband? You know?
I think you probably already tell him, Laura.
I don't think so. I don't know. Jackie, what do you think? You've been around it a long time. I don't know.
Don't get her in the middle.
Yeah, we're at 24 years and together 30.
Congratulations.
So,
That's
long
almost
time.
unheard of anymore.
I know. And that's a second marriage.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah.
So, let's talk business now.
Oh,
Okay.
let me get the serious voice, Greg.
There you go.
Shane is on an advisory committee that I put together for Pat Birch, which is really kind of cool. We've got a group of people from different avenues of life. You're our police representative, and we have some property managers, landlords, commercial contractors, other kind of contractors on there, residential, I should say. I guess that's the only other option, right? And and we get together once a month and kind of chat about, issues.
I think the dynamic works out well. Law enforcement can provide a perspective that you usually don't get, and it can help the landlords really in that process of trying to solve issues between themselves and the tenants, and maybe law enforcement if it's a problem house. It may be blighted or it's a nuisance property, we can provide some options for solutions.
What issues are we trying to solve?
Well, oh gosh, I get a lot of complaints about people. They'll complain about a neighbor, could be noise. I mean, I actually put a phone call into you, but I found out your system on the returning phone calls. And this particular issue is there's a person who is doing repairing cars in a residential neighborhood who happens to wait until the city is closed, therefore feeling he's not going to get caught, and doesn't until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, which disturbs the neighbors tremendously. And I've heard from a couple of the neighbors, and it's been going on for a long time. But in order to eliminate the problem, he's got to be caught red-handed. And
What,
so
you can't repair your car?
You can repair your car probably, but you can't do it as a business at your house in a residential zoned neighborhood.
Okay, so
You
that's,
know,
so
If we all
it's a
did,
business.
it's a business, yeah. And so the police can help by
We
going past.
we go, maybe when someone in for city inspection is not currently working. Maybe they get out at 5 and they're not there to check.
Sure.
So we go by and we're the eyes and the ears of the city 24 hours a day. And if we recognize something that needs attention, we can address it ourselves and let the property owner know they're not in compliance with the zoning, and let them know they could be penalized, and then notify what is now Neighborhood Economic Operations, the old city inspection, doing the same function. But we can notify them the following day, and then they can address it. But then they have first-hand knowledge from a police officer.
Plus they have documentation.
Right.
Which helps because isn't there something about 10 issues on a property?
They did lower it down to around 12 in a year time frame for nuisance properties. And that would mean any police contact, city inspection, fire, Department of Public Works. So if a property that is being rented out is utilizing so many of the services of the community beyond what the normal person would do, then it becomes a nuisance property. Because so much of the tax dollars are being spent there to manage some type of a problem, an issue, and it can't continue. It's not just to the rest of the taxpayers.
Would you say that is rare, that somebody would have 10 or 12 appearances?
I would say it's rare for someone like you or I or Laura, yeah, absolutely, or for 90% of our community. Rare even to have one police contact in a year, or fire, or Department of Public Works. But somebody who has 12 for one property, it's extremely rare to have that, but yet it does occur. So we have to manage that problem so we don't keep using resources.
Now, I'm thinking, Shane, if there's 10 or 12, there's got to be some illegality going on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Well, just like this gentleman repairing his car, not his car, other people's cars, and banging on a car at 3 o'clock in the morning, and if you're the neighbor and have to be to work at 6, is not a pleasant thing. Not to mention that we have noise laws
Right.
that
No.
go into force.
Absolutely. The whole thing comes down to a quality of life issue for all the other residents.
Right. I mean, I buy my residence to live in a residence, not to live. If I happen to live on Michigan Avenue, so I can accept the fact that my neighbor is zoned R4, maybe an office, but it's zoned R4, so I know it's not going to be retail. I know it's not going to be a gas station or something like that. So that's my expectation. So in R1, I expect the house next door to be a single-family residential, not even an apartment. It could be rented to a single family, but it can't be a duplex. And we do have duplexes and triplexes and fourplexes and single-family zoning. So the city has addressed that issue also.
They have. And the zoning actually helps people live together better, because as a community we have to live together better. And if you have people disrupting the quality of life of others, I think the city should address it in whatever means they can within the bounds of the ordinances or laws. And we weren't doing that, I don't think, in the past as well as we could as a municipality. But I believe we're using the system better as a citywide.
More cooperative, not working so much in silos.
Yeah, right.
Do you work in
said it right.
conjunction with inspectors?
I have since 1993, but singularly, I was doing that. But we have moved forward as a police agency. Chief Hines has done a terrific job of listening to ideas and letting us run with those ideas. So when we decided to attack the blight issue, he found it very important that we educate all of the officers on the effects of blight, quality of life, and how that actually even translates into crime. And I have actually seen a reduction. Since we've started tearing down these houses and enforcing the garbage and trash and the nuisances, I've had less calls for service to certain locales that I would have many more calls for in the past.
And
Good
how-
news.
Yeah, and are the other officers learning because you're soon to retire.
I am.
And who's
definitely.
gonna step in and take your place?
Well, as Chief Hines taught me, mentorship is important. So when he presented the opportunity to do some educational sessions with our up-and-coming officers and start to teach them, and new employees now, it's part of their training is to address these issues. And I think it's just going to get better. And we have an administration at all levels of the city that they're working better together. Like you said, the silos, Laura,
Right.
you brought the silos, and I think everybody is kind of looking at how we were doing business before, and it didn't work.
Right.
And now getting everybody on the same team, doing their function, but knowing something about everybody else's function and what resource is there, you can solve a lot of problems in a way that maybe wasn't traditional if you understand someone else's job tasks and what their job entails. And part of that was, I didn't understand fully back in the early 90s about, at that time, city inspection. And I had great city inspectors who encouraged me to be proactive, and they taught me about their job. And so I just did it. And then when we found that Jackson had this surge of dilapidated properties and uninhabitable properties, I thought, we need to fix this. And I went to my boss, and he said, run with it, and I ran with it. And now I made great I got contacts like Brian Taylor up at City Inspection, Frank Donovan, and those guys have been instrumental in the whole change process for the better.
Yeah, and I think once you understand what they do and they understand what Shane can do and how they can work together, and actually as the landlords and the commercial contractors, and as we are talking about these issues that they experience within the city, it's helping create opportunities to improve our system
Right.
in the city.
And that synergy that we have, Laura had mentioned early in the program about having the other stakeholders, the other property managers and property owners on board to maybe look at some of these ordinances and so forth. It's great to hear their side and what they could do. And it's great for them to hear our side when I tell them, hey, if we have a house that you own and they're dealing drugs there and we rate it, we're going to give you a 24-hour notice. You can use that notice in the court system to assist with whatever you have to do as a business owner, as a property manager, to get rid of that person or that element that you don't want there anymore that's driving down the value of the neighborhood, value of the property, and dealing with the quality of life issue. And as Laura knows now, she has knowledge that maybe she wouldn't have had before. And that's a
It's
piece
not
that
a
helps
secret.
her. No, it's not a secret, is it?
Yeah, and it was really interesting watching Gay Wynn and Terry Zanowitz. Those are the two property managers that are on the advisory committee. Just be surprised as to the access of new information that they have, so that will help them.
Yeah.
So
A big piece of that committee was, and it worked out with Gay and I'll use that as an example. I was talking to her about building relationships. Like, we have relationships in every aspect of life that we're involved in. And I was talking to them and educating them on building a relationship with a local cop. And getting their personal phone number so you can call them. And I get phone calls from people all the time. I probably get no less than 100 a month probably about a question, how can I solve this issue? If every one of our cops was doing that in some fashion, we all would be better. We all be better off in our community. We all would have a network that would assist us with solving the issues that need to be addressed.
Shane came to two of our master plan citizen engagement meetings, which I was very excited about.
Thank you, Laura.
And when he came to the first one, we realized that we then started pushing for the other city employees to come, but it was inconvenient or it didn't work out. So we're having a citizen engagement master plan session just for city employees. And I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping that off-duty policemen come to that. So will you encourage that?
I will encourage it.
It's
I will encourage
Wednesday.
it. I did that.
They get lunch.
See, we have a problem.
Why?
Shane's retiring.
But he still has connections.
Well, I know he has a lot of connections.
When do you retire?
My last day is August 5th. It's
Oh, he's
bittersweet.
got one. Yeah.
I really enjoy my profession.
Yeah.
And it's been good to me.
Yeah.
It really has for 25 years. And it's helping me grow as a person. I mean, if you can imagine, a profession like that can help you grow as a person, but I just love serving the citizens of Jackson and being a law enforcement
Well, I'm sure they'd
officer.
extend your contract.
I've tried everything possible, Laura, that I can do as the union president to further encourage staying after 25 years.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, to no avail, of course.
So there's a rule, if you're there 25 years, you're out, period?
No, it becomes a point where we pay so much into our pension that it
Oh,
doesn't
got it.
benefit staying. We get a 2.9% multiplier up to 25 years. After 25, it's 1%.
Oh,
So why
got
would
it.
someone want to take a 2/3 hit and contribute the same amount of money? That doesn't make financial sense.
Well, you'll have a baby to focus on.
Oh, I'm going to work on, second, third career. I hope to have a third career, live old enough to do
Yeah,
that.
you're still
So
young.
I'm not going to quit working. It's just a matter of I will not be working for the citizens of Jackson anymore. And
At least in that capacity.
in that capacity, I would hope to find other ways to serve.
Shane, what's the biggest change? When you started, I'm gonna just ballpark this, we had probably 75 officers here. Now of course, we've lost 20,000 in population. We've lost a lot of police officers. How have you seen the change, the dichotomy there?
Well, it has always been since I started, our law enforcement officers for the city of Jackson are more like a general practitioner. I handle anything from a parking ticket, an hour later I can have a homicide, and so on and so forth. And so our officers are a lot smarter now. Most of them are coming out with nothing less than a 4-year degree, plus going to the academy, plus after the academy they go through a rigorous training at the department.
Mhm.
So they're smarter. I think that the officers are working smarter. Nonetheless, we have less of them, so we're much more reactive than proactive now. Like with Laura's situation there, with being into property management, and she owns properties. If she has an issue she would like proactively addressed, if we had enough officers, we could work with her more one-on-one and try and solve those issues. And I just think that as we continue to decrease the force, we decrease that availability.
Mhm.
In that
Well, we as
citizen
citizens
contact.
want you to focus on crime first and foremost.
Yeah, and I think crime, it evolves from something, usually something small. And if we take care of that small stuff out there, we're gonna definitely take care of the big stuff. And I've noticed as we as a city, citywide, have started to address the small things, the bigger things haven't been happening. I think what we did before is we waited for the big things. We kept waiting for that big thing and waiting for the big thing. And all the small stuff was accumulating. And all those things were called quality of life things that as they accumulated, people started putting their houses up for sale because they didn't want to deal with that neighbor who was
Who doesn't
bad.
mow their lawn, or has a bunch of trash, or broken out windows, or has 15 cats, or, I mean, I can list.
A list.
I mean, now I get people who email me or call me. I had one that lives on Washington, and it's a vacant house, and there was a homeless person living in the vacant house. And Matt Hines, I just let him know, and his officers go and check, and they check several times, and now they haven't found the person, and so they may have scared him off just by them seeing the police in the neighborhood. So, also I'm seeing stronger neighborhood watches. Our Queens area has a wonderful neighborhood watch that it's amazing.
Who started that one?
Corey Michael Mays kind of spearheaded it, and it's gotten really big, and it's on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, and they see kids. There's been a real group of 4 or 5 kids specifically on South Grinnell that have been causing some problems. Now I'm sure they're just, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but they're, parents are probably at work and so on and so forth. So
Did they create that group in response to an issue in the neighborhood?
they did. Oh yeah, we had a lot of burglaries last year.
Okay.
Yeah, they did, and things have calmed down because now everybody's watching, and they're very, very proactive. Well, unfortunately, we could go on and on,
Okay.
so I'll have you on again, and thank you for coming. And
pleasure.
there's a couple things I want to talk about before I lose the air. Our stormwater fee for the city is if you meant to opt out, but you threw that card away, you were not opting out. You must fill in the card in order to say, I don't want my stormwater fee back. It's really important that you let the attorney's office know. So please call me. I will email you, or I will drop off the card that's necessary to be in the mail by Friday. It has to be postmarked by June 15th. I'm hoping to have a conversation with the opposing attorney to see if there could be an extension, because a lot of people threw their cards away thinking that was getting them that was giving the money back to the city or allowing the city to keep that money. It's not the case. We got to get it in the mail. So my phone number is 780-3800. Call me if you want to discuss the stormwater fee and how you opt out of it so that the city does not pay you back. And we'd really like our nonprofits to opt out. I would be happy to talk to anybody about that. 780-3800. I've got some great houses for sale, and I'm always willing to show buyers properties. So call.
Thanks, Laura.
Ciao.
And Shane Laporte.